The Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Ministers and Members of Parliament, I rise to present my contribution in support of the appropriation bill before the House. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the Honorable Minister for Economy and his team for presenting a well-balanced and inclusive budget, a budget which addresses critical aspects of a vibrant and growing economy, a budget which addresses the critical pathway to recovery from the most devastating natural disaster to ever hit Fiji, a budget which continues to bolster one of government's key roles of taking care of the vulnerable and marginalized in society. My ministry welcomes the initiative by the Minister of Economy to introduce a new budget year. A financial year ending on 31st December has always posed a lot of challenges for us from an implementation perspective. That is, implementation of our capital projects, as the machinery of government slows down towards the end of the year due to the onslaught of the festive season. I say this with the utmost sincerity and honesty, as I've been a civil servant myself, implementing expected outcomes for government. With the new budget year, ministries will now get a new injection of funds to continue with the delivery of government services while performance is still at its peak. This new budget year, coupled with a longer term for planning purposes, will only serve to boost efficiencies within government in relation to the fulfillment of government outcomes. The Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources has been allocated a sum of 31 million, approximately, to carry out its core functions in the new financial year. Whilst the total budget remains the same, there are increases within the budget in priority areas, such as in the areas of development of informal settlements for housing, groundwater resource development for clean and safe water, earthquake and tsunami detection, and monitoring in the field of surveying and geospatial development and management. Some of the key features of my ministry's budget are as follows. 1. Land management. A modern and updated geodetic system is crucial for proper land development. To this end, an increase in budget is allocated for the National Geodetic Upgrade, for which 1.18 million is provided. This is to upgrade from the old World Geodetic System of 1972 to a new system. This will provide for more accuracy in geospatial locations and also compatible with modern equipment and navigation systems. To this end, preliminary meetings with relevant experts have taken place with a view to advertise for a project manager this month. The ministry is also happy with a new allocation of 260,000 for the acquisition of an unmanned aerial vehicle. This will allow for aerial survey, providing real-time and instant information with a shorter turnaround time. This has important applications for urgently required aerial surveys, such as those required in some simple land dealing consent applications, and also for assessments of natural disasters, such as Tropical Cyclone Winston. It will also come in handy, Honorable Deputy Speaker, for law enforcement purposes, like the identification of marijuana farms. The funding of these initiatives show government's commitment to continually support the core function of my ministry in state land management and the role this plays in the life of our economy. To that end, as of last year, the ministry has started issuing 99-year agricultural leases in accordance with Fiji First's promise to the Fijian people. This shows government support for Fijians in the agricultural sector and recognizes their need for longer security of tenure to incentivize investment on their farms. Since 2011, government has been providing a budget to the ministry for the consolidation of an electronic national land register. This is the identification of land tenure for every parcel of land in Fiji and require the combined efforts and cooperation of stakeholders like the Itauke Land Trust Board and the Registrar of Titles. In the upcoming budget, this item is now part of the operation allocation. The ministry has also embarked on the Land Use Master Plan to attribute usage, climate, soil type, contour, and other geospatial components to land parcels in Fiji to enhance this electronic tool for land management and strategic planning, not only for the ministry, but other ministries as well. A budget of 240,000 has been allocated for this project in the next financial year. Development of state land. One of the key roles of the ministry is the development of unutilized state land to productive use. To this effect, an allocation of 2.7 million has been granted to cater for the continued development and putting to productive use of vacant state land. This involves the creation of infrastructure and the development of subdivisions for industrial and commercial purposes targeted at generating and increasing economic activity. For the new financial year, our priority is in the development of an industrial subdivision at Vakamasisosua in Lambasa. This will help alleviate the increasing demand for industrial land in Lambasa and is in line with government efforts to encourage investment in the Northern Division. The Constitution pledges the right of every person to accessible and adequate housing. The ministry has been allocated a sum of $300,000. The provision is to cater for the regularization of informal settlements of state land, providing Fijians residing in these settlements security in land tenure and dignity. This will cater for both squatters residing on vacant state land and those on illegal subdivisions of state land. A total of 72 approval notices for lease have been issued in the Western Division, and a total of 77 approval notices have been issued in the Northern Division to date. That translates to 149 families given security of tenure and a real opportunity to better their livelihoods. The mineral sector, Mr. Deputy Speaker. 200,000 has been allocated to the Mineral Investigation Project with a view of improving and increasing mineral exploration and development. This contributes to increasing investment in the mineral sector. 250,000 has been allocated for the upgrade of the geochemical lab to allow for the chemical analysis of rock samples locally. For the 2015 financial year, the ministry was allocated 290,000 for the same purpose. With that sum, the department was able to begin the renovations of the laboratory to an OHS-compliant laboratory. With its budget for the first half of this year, the department was able to facilitate the safe disposal of hazardous chemicals professionally. With this new allocation of 250,000, we will be able to continue with the purchasing of laboratory equipment to enable us as a country to analyze locally what would normally be sent overseas for analysis. So in yesterday's contributions, Deputy Speaker, we had heard from the Honorable Ndula Keverata that the allocation for that particular purpose is not enough. I'd like to assure him and the House that it's enough for our purposes for the year. The Environment Unit of the Department of Mineral Resources has been upgraded to a division to manage environmental issues from the mining sector and also on state land development. An increase in allocation for this particular division is also thankful. Groundwater resources and development. Access to clean water remains one of government's key priorities. To help in realizing government's goal for accessible, clean and safe water as promised in the Constitution, we have been allocated a sum of 1.23 million for groundwater assessment and development. This is to alleviate water supply problems in rural areas with little to no access to proper water supply. A total of 20 boreholes were drilled in 2015. A total of 7 boreholes had been drilled so far for 2016 and 1 reticulated at Navutu settlement at Nandronga. A new initiative of the ministry is the reticulation of productive boreholes to provide clean and safe water from the ground to the people. Currently, reticulation work is being conducted at 5 locations: Navakawau Village in Taviuni, Kiombo Village, Kumbulau District School, Namalata Village, and Ravi Ravi Village in the district of Kumbulau in Bua. The increased budget for this activity enables us to also consider the facilitation of the reticulation of water to communities apart from the drilling process. Reticulation thus far has been funded by beneficiary communities themselves or by other donors and stakeholders, both within government and outside of it. There has been an increasing activity of earthquakes and tsunamis around the world, and there's a need for Fiji to increase its monitoring and preparation for such potentially catastrophic events to ensure the reduction of the threat to the livelihood of all Fijians. In this budget, the Seismology Unit of the Mineral Resources Department has received an allocation of $293,000, which is an increase of $186,000. This is to cater for the 24/7 operation of the Earthquake and Tsunami Monitoring Unit of the Ministry. The strengthening of this unit means a boost for natural disaster preparedness for our country. Because of this role, the unit works very closely with the National Disaster Management Office in mapping responses to windows of opportunity created by the threat of natural disasters. As part of the Ministry's contribution towards rebuilding and restoration post-Winston, part of the Department of Mineral Resources budget for the current financial year was diverted to geotech surveys for the identification and assessment of new village sites. The Land Use Division, since its inception, a total area of approximately 2,500 hectares of Itauke land has been leased. With a total number of 37 leases managed by the division to date, a total revenue of around $6 million has been generated by these leases directly benefiting the land-owning units financially. This, in turn, stimulates economic growth. The target for the next financial year, for the budget we've been given for this year, is to complete the development of 2 subdivisions in the Western Division. In conclusion, Honorable Deputy Speaker, a work program for the next financial year, as recognized in the budget, brings forth the need to work in collaboration with other ministries and stakeholders whose roles are closely aligned to our core functions to contribute to the improvement of livelihoods. We will therefore continue to establish various interagency forums to ensure that there is coordination in the implementation of our capital projects and programs in the next financial year. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I am happy with what the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources has been allocated for the 2016-2017 financial year, and I am certain that with a concerted effort from the team within the Ministry and the budget we have been allocated, the Ministry will be able to realize its aim in attaining best results in its core functions. I fully support the appropriation bill, and I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker and Honorable Members, for your attention.